Tina, Tina's recording now. So thanks for coming to our midday meeting here for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee. So in general today, what I hope to talk about was briefly touch on the general scope of the committee and timing of our efforts moving forward with the General Commission work. Then to talk a little bit about the high-level options that we're outlining for the Commission to kind of choose from. And then to talk about what the advisory capacity of this subcommittee will look like moving forward, as that was approved at the last commission meeting. So first of all, just to kind of recap what our general intent is for the initial ask of this meeting was to bring several options to the Greater Commission to vote, to discuss and vote upon as far as what direction they would like to take. And we'll take a look at the options that we've outlined in a second here. But before we get into that, so we have this particular proposal for an amendment to the charter has not been identified as one of the top 5 priorities that the commission is focusing on right now. So we will, I suppose, choose if we want to try to work with our co-chairs. We have one with us today, which is great, to try and at least get an initial vote earlier, or if we should wait until after we finish all those up before we get a vote on it. But the benefits, my opinion, if we can get the commission to choose a direction they'd like to see more language on, we can at least pick one and flesh it out a little bit and pass it off to the drafting subcommittee, where they can then prioritize that appropriately for their needs. Any other thoughts on how to timeline this work?
So as chair of the drafting committee, and a couple of you, I think we're all on it, the timeline is very crunched. And so I've asked the co-chairs to send out a schedule. I haven't seen it go out yet, but essentially we need any proposals by subcommittees by noon on Friday. The drafting committee will meet in a workshop Friday evening. And right now I have in our meeting at 5 o'clock, the agenda is to go over the list of those we expect or we know are in progress. This is one of those on that list. And so we can discuss as part of the drafting committee, incorporating this into the list of proposals and then let the full commission decide next week, which if they want to take the whole slate out for the public meetings or a subset in the quote unquote top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it,
okay.
at least at this point, it's being recognized that this is out there.
Great. Yes, Terry.
I think, okay. So we have a lot of things that are out there. Like, we have, we have ranked choice voting, we have the DEI, we have everything. I think that, and I'm gonna kind of question about whether or not we have to actually have a proposal by the second. I mean, I think if you go to a public meeting, you can say, we are discussing options around a diversity, equity, and inclusion portion without having something. I understand that some people going, oh, you have to have a proposal to have the town hall. It's like, no, you can have a town hall and just go, well, what is everybody's input on that? I mean, there's, it's not as, I don't think it's necessary to have a proposal. So I would like us to continue working on it. But then I also think that there's really important things to do within this committee. Like I've been in some committee meetings and stuff around language and stuff like that, where I saw clearly language that should not be put in proposals or put in slides, and kind of had to go, well, wait, I don't think wording it like that is best. And so I think that this committee should always be around to do that kind of stuff. So whatever the drafting committee comes back with, we'll look at to make sure that we have inclusive and language involved in that. So I would like to see us do that, but then I'd also like to still see us, I don't think it would take much of a effort for us to do a first touch on this, Kim, to do what direction that the commissioners would like to go on. I don't think, and then given the fact that there's a lot to talk about, on
Mhm.
what it would look like, whatever proposal we came up with. I know that Chuck, you presented some, and a resolution or whatever, or an amendment or something similar to Pierce County's, which there were some things on there that I didn't really,
That was the Ethics Commission, so
Yeah.
that's different.
Oh, okay. I thought that you had something to do with the diversity, equity, and inclusion. You presented something
I
around having like,
proposed
yeah.
language
And
for
so some
a
of
new
that,
office.
For one of those
Yeah.
ideas, yeah. We don't need to discuss that
Yeah.
right now. We're just talking about the.
yeah. So some of that I didn't, so we don't need to have like an actual proposal out because there's a lot to talk about that. But I think we can still talk about it at public meetings, like how the public feels about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, the question is mostly for as far as like workload for the commission as a whole and for the leadership. I know the next few weeks are going to be jam packed. I'd love to slide in just a first check on these options, but I think it can wait until after. We got a lot of stuff lining up until early and mid June, and if this is destined to not be a priority in the top 5 and maybe not be on the 2021 ballot, then it can wait. And I think of all the things, this one especially should have a robust community feedback element as well. So this puts a pin in. So we'll talk more about the communication and advisory piece at the end of this meeting. But as far as that specific thing about one task that needs to happen is getting the charter's opinion on which one to start examining deeper. And my feeling is that can wait probably till mid-June.
Okay,
Kim,
but
think
I want, if anybody's listening out there, I want them to know that it's not necessarily destined not to be on it.
right.
That we don't, we just don't have anything solid right now.
Well, keep in mind, we have a really crunched schedule to put things together to be put on to a vote of the commission for this year's ballot. And July 7th is that date right now in the work plan that we would be making those votes. So if we wait, the more we wait on anything like this, then the more the chances are it's not going to make that 2021 vote.
Yes, and the charter group has already
We all
decided what the priorities were for the items we that we're moving forward on. So we kind of have to wait on this one until those first ones are addressed, unless we can slide in that, temperature check on what direction to take.
Yes, I agree with that.
I don't love that, but that's where we are.
I agree with that.
So
Yep, that sounds good.
Yeah, Kim.
Chris, do you want to proceed through your slides?
Okay.
I want to make sure I can't.
Yeah.
I gotta leave at 1.
Yeah, same. So yeah, that's I think the general sense, and actually, so it'll be good to have the drafting committee talk about the order they do things. Chuck's going to run that meeting this evening, and then Kim, you and Mike will be talking, I'm sure, about timelining the next few commission meetings. And so I'd just say maybe try to see if we can work in a touch. How soon can we work in a touch on this item, I think would be the request. Does that sound reasonable to you, gang?
Yeah, I mean, how soon would you be ready, or we be ready?
Theoretically, after this meeting, we'd have at least these, options outlined, pending.
Well, right now I can tell you we're trying to verify. Right now, the only thing on the agenda, major item of discussion is the report out from the chair subcommittee that they wanted to have a touch with the commission.
Okay.
I'm not sure why the agenda hasn't gone out yet because it's been approved. So I'm not sure what's holding it up because I'm not seeing that it went out. So many emails on here.
So many.
I know.
We are going to need, Tim, we are going to need that email I sent this morning to go out to the subcommittee, Lisa subcommittee chairs, because we don't have the luxury of anything coming in next week that's in the top 5. We don't have that luxury of packaging it for the June 2nd proposals and action by the commission. So it's really critical. We're on a critical path, and we can't move off of that or we've mucked up our schedule.
Can I make a request? Like, like when you made the statement, like it should go out to the subcommittee chairs, that everything goes out, you can put do not reply, but all that information goes out to all of the people on committees. So we are all ready.
That
right?
one might have, but I might not have because I didn't want to create a quorum.
Yeah, but if it's just information.
You can send any information only emails.
Yes.
You just can't ask for discussion.
Yeah,
Right. I guess I said I sent it out this morning. I really need it to go out because that's on our agenda tonight, but we can't change the schedule. We've got it locked in per the work plan. And that was basically reminding people we need stuff this week by Friday if we're going to keep to that schedule. Otherwise, we won't make the schedule in the work plan.
Okay, so we're deviating a bit from our purpose here in this space. So let's pull it back into the DEI subcommittee. And speaking of scheduling and timing, does this noon meeting work for a touch base weekly for you all?
Well, won't work next week because it's a holiday.
Excepting next week.
Yeah.
I would still meet if there were another couple who wanted to touch base Monday. But in general,
I can
is this a
meet.
good time slot?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I think Jeff was traveling, and that's why he wasn't able to join this time. So I'll double check with him, and we'll pencil in. Is weekly okay? And if we don't need the whole time, we don't take the whole time. Just quick check in.
Okay,
That
sounds
Yeah.
that works. And then
Okay,
another
thanks.
request is another request on a quick check-in with everybody before meetings to see if they have agenda items that they would like to talk about. That'd be awesome.
I will endeavor to do so. And of
Yeah, you
course,
can just-
anytime, send me your stuff if you come up with something. You don't have to wait for me
Yeah,
to
but
ask.
I would like, you know,
Yeah.
like an email to go out, like, anybody have an agenda items? Because I mean, we've had some subcommittees that some things were missed because there was a, you know, so.
Sounds good. All right. So this is a very, very short slideshow that really is just two of the slides are providing context to prevent people from getting anxious about the content. So that's the first one here. It's kind of saying what this is and what this isn't. We have slides that are outlining the primary options that have been presented and discussed in the commission and in our subcommittee. So just really reiterating, because people are going to want to dig into the weeds, and that's not what we're doing at this point about each of these things. We're really giving the general direction. These are high-level concepts exploring the general direction. They're not necessarily worded as their final iteration will be. The details will be determined after a direction is chosen. The details should be informed by public input, and we attempt to write these objectively. So not talking about things, you know, whether we support it or not individually is not part of this piece. It's just what would this look like at the highest level. And what I put together is essentially we have an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion option, a advisory council or commission option. Both of those together in some form, or no amendment at all, are the four big threads that I've witnessed. And there's a slide for each of these next as well. So the first one on here is the Office of DEI option. I tried to keep as high level as possible. It's hard not to get into the weeds. So the things that there were two kind of options that were discussed on this choice, but both of them had a minimum of having one paid officer responsible for DEI on county staff that would advise the council, a county manager, and collaborate with departments, and could strengthen and support the existing county equity, diversity, and inclusion group. Now, a distinction that had been discussed, there were two different divergent fields of thought on this. One was more internal and how the county delivers its services to implement best practices and policies relating to DEI, be meaningfully and transparently consulted in leadership decisions internal to the county's function, operations, and services. And then or having this external thing that kind of monitors and intervenes in how other organizations in the county approach DEI, such as school districts. Those are the two different schools that I heard with, I think this would have to go to the greater commission and be discussed with public input. Do those seem represented accurately at this high level?
Okay. So I don't know where these goals came from. Are you talking about the one that that goes in and deals with schools, districts, and stuff? Is that the one that Chuck put forward? Is that what we're discussing?
Yes.
Okay, so that's okay. So that would be, you would want that to go to the whole commission.
Outlining what was
Chuck-
discussed and brought up. Yeah, that was one of the
Okay,
ones
because
that I
we
saw.
haven't really even discussed that.
Right. That's why
That
it's
is
here. It was
something
one of the
that
ones
I
put
don't-
forth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I think that will be prohibitive for this to actually be accepted by the public. The public, I don't think would want to see
Why
us,
would it be prohibitive?
because if you've been following the Camas, like what's going on with Camas schools, and things just get very, they're totally against, critical race theory being taught. They're totally against that. And putting something on the ballot right now saying that we are going to do something that's going to, that we are suggesting that they do anything whatsoever to kind of interfere with how they run their schools. I just think I don't think we would get a great response from some people. And I don't, maybe you can tell me why you think that the county council should have influence over, or the county should
Well,
have influence over the school
I'm
board.
not sure I used the term intervene with my proposal. It was to monitor and I can't remember if it was bring out or coordinate on issues with business practices, law enforcement, school district issues, not necessarily, because I don't think the county has jurisdiction over school boards. But so I'm not sure I'd use the term intervene.
Okay,
But
good. 'Cause
Any action would be interventional. We could choose a different word, but yeah.
I would word
Sorry,
that.
go.
If you want-
I interrupted Chuck. Please finish your thought, Chuck.
so the question is whether you create an office that has some type of enforcement responsibilities. And that was not my intent. My intent was that if they were monitoring and found, like the Vancouver School District inequality and discipline issue, that they would organize a process to review and I guess I'll use the term correct because I'm thinking out loud, but basically they're there to bring it out and organize how it gets resolved, not necessarily forcing the Vancouver School District to do something, because I don't think they have that responsibility, but it was an external outreach process to basically bring out DEI concerns and issues or incidents and work to address them.
So this one feels
Okay.
to me like way beyond the scope of county government, and also a massive amount of work potentially to try and be a monitor for all these things that are not part of the county's operations.
Essentially be
I'm
the
kind of
county's version of the diversity, equity, and inclusion manager for the city of Vancouver.
mhm.
Can I finish?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll finish how I feel about it. I totally agree. I don't think that, and why I don't think it would be accepted on this ballot is because because it would be, it sounds interfering. So if you want to say be a resource for, or do something like that, or provide, like if they resources for all county offices, all county, but and I agree with Chris that that would be a massive job to monitor the DEI and in all the schools. It's just, so I would go for having, but I wouldn't even really want the public to kind of to think that we were advocating for them to be interventionalists in school boards or in any department, quite frankly.
But I think before we speculate what the community will say, we probably want to ask the community to speak. And
Okay,
that's
then I'll
why
just say that's how I feel
hesitate
about
to
Mhm.
put something on the back burner just because we think the community is going to say this. I'd rather hear directly from the community what they
So
think.
you want to leave it as
So
is?
here's proposal.
No,
If I could pause for a second, we can adjust it. If we take out intervene, we can still get community feedback on this piece moving forward. We'll say instead of to monitor and to intervene, we could say to monitor and coordinate on issues related to DEI with external Clark County organizations such as schools.
So the terminology, I just went and pulled up my original proposal. I said this office is established to advise and monitor equal rights in business and hiring practices. So it's advise and monitor, not monitor and intervene.
So what kind of hiring practices, outside of Washington state law, would the county be monitoring and advising on? And for who? All organizations within Clark County?
This would be those that would be under the community services or
Okay.
county council jurisdiction.
Okay, so that's actually included in the first one already because that's internal to the county. But if we're talking about other organizations in the school districts, that's external. The school
Right.
districts have their own, checks and balances and orders in place. The schools, the districts, the ESD, and the state ultimately. And I know that, the priorities for DEI for them and oversight comes from the top down. So if you're talking about the departments and like public works and things like that, that all fits in that first bullet point too, where we're
I'm not,
monitoring and advising.
I'm not, so we keep coming back to almost an internal HR process. And while I think that this office would be great to have the county would benefit the county by kind of reinvesting in a manager of DEI for county human resources activities. This is more external because we have all these different DEI liaisons, representatives, managers, etc. And I'm not seeing anybody coordinating all of those activities within the county. And that's
Yes.
what my intention was. This would be that office that kind of advises and monitors those activities. And it could be that if we did do the second part, which is the Human Rights Commission or DEI Commission of some type, that they would chair that or facilitate that. So it's more of, it is looking externally. Let's
What
say
I'm
law
hearing, Chuck,
enforcement practices.
is you're saying externally as far as delivery of county services, but it is internal to the county operation as the government. So I think we have a bit of a language thing here because our services are given to the public externally, yes. But what this group, this person or group would be overseeing would be the internal actual functions and operations of the county. So I think that your idea fits perfectly well in the first goal. I think even with the same language. So you control the internal functions because they affect the external results. And each department has their own, take on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you're absolutely right. There hasn't been coordination. I think that's exactly what this is targeting. I think you're 100% right on that too. So I would suggest maybe we can just bring it back up to that first goal and not mention things like school districts and outside organizations. How does that sound?
I would, I don't think we should be specific because I think that might be an overreach, but I would like to see, because again, I go back to my original language, which is monitor and advise on these functions on a countywide basis. So maybe coordinate, monitor and coordinate or something to that.
Okay. I can add that to the first goal.
I actually like be a resource for
Mhm.
departments. I'm sorry, I just think that sounds like advise is okay too.
Mhm.
Provide resources and advice.
Okay. So I'm hearing this is all kind of aligning. I can redraft a statement for this one, and that brings us just down to one shape for this that I think meets both of those, all the points
All
of
right.
view that have come up here. And I'll get that back out to you before too long here. Thank you. This has been
Hey, and just
helpful.
real quick, are the
Yep.
slides we are looking at, they're exactly what you sent us, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. Number 2 was the advisory council or commission. Both had come up and are similar in structure. It would be including membership of specific communities or specialties. It would be formally included in county and council decision-making processes in some way undefined right now. By default, these groups are unpaid, and they could work in concert with the existing county equity, diversity, and inclusion group. Does that
So
sound accurate, high level?
I'm moving down to, there's a section of the charter that specifically calls out different commissions,
Hmm.
like the Planning Commission, the Commission on Aging. I'm trying to find where that is. I think my suggestion is let's elevate it into that. Yeah, where the heck is it?
Sounds a little bit like we're getting into details there, Chuck. Does this
No,
overall high level
this
concept?
is where this would be housed, because that's what you're talking about.
Mhm.
All right, here it is. In 2.4, powers of the council, H, have concurrent authority with the county manager to nominate members to the following boards and commissions. Members are appointed by the council. Clark County Planning Commission, Clark County Historic Preservation Commission, Board of Equalization of Assessment. And I would elevate it to that, because that puts it kind of in the top tier of the commissions.
Okay.
And there's already provision in the charter for appointing to commissions like that.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion. I'm just
Okay.
throwing that out.
Great. I think that fits under resembles other commissions for this high level point. Specifically, an element that would want to be discussed is actually how those memberships would be selected and whether, as it's written in the charter, the county council selecting them would be the best way. That would be something we need to get feedback on before we made a decision, I think. Any other comments on the high level concept of the advisory council or commission? Okay. That was the hard part.
Is there an existing county equity, diversity, and inclusion group? And if
Yes.
so, who are they?
It consists of county employees that have chosen to participate in a county government-wide group that has been various degrees of active and strong or influential, based on who has time, whose managers let them participate, and it's been a need over and over and over again, and also in best practices in government organizations across the country to have a central equity coordinator of some sort too, which has been the real need. And if you'd go back to the public comment from last week, I'd encourage you to read the letter that came in, or we read it at our first meeting actually. Was from one of the members of that equity, diversity, and inclusion group, just sending us the letter on behalf of her private person. But I'd review that one again
Yeah,
and see what
that's a
she
good
had to
one.
say.
Yeah.
And both
Chris,
me and Chris
is,
have experience with that group.
So this is
Can I
internal,
have a
kind of like
question?
human resources.
Oh,
So
No.
Chris
Yes, Terry.
and Kim, are employees paid for their time working on that committee?
no.
No.
They have
it's
lunch
all
meetings.
yours. Okay.
Mhm. It's entirely voluntary. It doesn't have any kind of teeth or skeleton to it. It's really them just trying to make some recommendations, trying to make some stuff happen, trying to support each other. Different departments have their own smaller internal equity-focused work groups too that are also voluntarily created and various degrees of supported by their management. But there's nothing formalized. It's all just kind of manifesting from the will of the employees without any kind of organized
Yeah.
backbone,
That's
which is
wonderful.
one thing that a coordinator would provide.
That's wonderful, and I'd love to see some of the stuff that you guys have come up with. That's wonderful.
Okay. And so the next option is a combination of the two. I think this is pretty straightforward, the details of which would be hammered out later, but one note was the DEI officer person or office could lead or form the advisory council or commission. I wasn't sure what else to say about this just because it would depend on further discussion. Any thoughts on that?
No. Yeah, I mean, I have my own, like, I know what my recommended option is, but I know that's not what we're doing today.
Yeah.
I would
same.
love to hear that though.
Well, I want Chris to get through his slides, and then we can, if we have more time, we can.
Okay, it's basically done. The fourth option is just no change is a choice that the commission can make. And then list it again. And that's it for the slides on all, so.
Okay. Yeah, can you go back up to option number 3? Yeah, I just, from my own personal experiences working in county government and the hurdles that we faced, I really don't see an option but to have both, because you need that external pressure of a council or commission holding the office accountable, because you can hire whoever you want for the office, but if there's no one actually holding them accountable, that office can just be whatever it is. And yes, you can create the systems that would create that office to be in a place where it could, have some structure and have some backbone, as Chris has mentioned. But I really, it's going to need both, because the commission would hold also the county council, because as commissions are appointed by county council, and as such, they're the voice to tell the council, this is what we recommend. And so, and then the Office of DEI would be the facilitators and coordinators for that commission. This is often something that we do in county government, or, you have employees that facilitate these bodies of citizens that have been appointed by the council. And that appointment process varies depending on the commission on how that functions. So the council really is just that final approval kind of thing. I'm not sure where in code, if we wanted to develop a different process, if that's allowed or not. I don't know the answers to that. But it's really rare for a council to not approve, like, any recommendation for somebody on a commission. That's really unheard of.
Chuck, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah, I was trying to look for that letter you mentioned earlier. Is it Leslie Harrington Smith?
Yeah, that's the one.
I have that letter open and I'm kind of I'm not seeing the limitations you were just mentioning in her letter. But I'll hold off on that because we're discussing whether to have a composite proposal here. So I don't want to get
Yeah,
off track.
that piece was just for some context that came out of Terry. Looks like we lost Terry.
Can you hear us, Terry?
We lost
Yeah,
her
there's
video.
a little like triangle thing on Terry that
Yeah, that usually is a bandwidth issue. We need we need to put some bandwidth into the charter.
Yeah. Okay. But
So yeah,
yeah, it wasn't really. It's not explaining any of those things, but it was some recommendations that came from a perspective that has been heavily involved in that county equity, diversity, inclusion group piece.
Well, but I think the letter has some important point.
Yeah.
And maybe once we get through this, I'd like to bring that back up.
Yeah, we can do that.
But I want to make sure Terry is back
Yeah,
online
she lost the
here.
warning sign. Let's see if she's
Got to mute.
back with us.
So right now, again, nobody has submitted anything to be added to the agenda for their subcommittees besides the chair. So, if there's time available, even this Wednesday, if you're ready, Chris, we could add it to the agenda.
I think we should at least bring it up as a proposal because frankly, I think this is important enough that we should have it on the list, at least to package for public review. Doesn't mean we eventually need to move it forward on this year's ballot, but I think at least let's give it the air of public input.
That sounds good. So how about we ask for a first touch?
Yeah.
And then we can take that to our public input pieces moving forward.
Even if
Okay,
it's
I'm
just a
back. I
trade-off
was gone for a
question.
while.
Come back.
Go ahead, Terry.
Sorry.
So I didn't hear, can you just give me a synopsis of what you guys just decided?
We assigned you everything. Is that okay?
No.
We're going to ask the co-chairs to give us a first touch at this or the next upcoming meeting, whichever works out best with their priorities and timing.
It's got to be this meeting if we're going to
Yeah,
That-
Chris, if you could just send a quick email to the two co-chairs and Anthony, very short and sweet, just add me to the agenda, and I'll probably recommend we add it as, like we did that one time where it's like, if there's time, we'll put it in parentheses, since it is not, a top thing for
It
this.
could still get bumped for one of the top
Yeah.
five if it comes in.
If
Okay.
there's something else that
Mhm.
comes up, because there are more like, things that are supposed to go on this year's ballot that we're supposed to be talking about, but I have not heard anything back of anything else.
And could
I can
you,
tell you that the June 2nd meeting is going to be full
Yeah.
of discussing how we're presenting these proposals to the public, because that's really the last touch before these go into the town halls and any other public events.
okay, and can you make sure that you send all the slides out to all commissioners before the meeting? I know I've said this over and over again, but it just makes things go, like I had already read all these slides, so it makes it, go more smoothly. And
Yeah. People
if
have the
we
chance
do,
to actually
if
look
we
it over it.
do,
And they get
yeah,
it like
if we-
more than the day of before the meeting because the meeting starts
Yeah.
at 5 and people work. So
and then it'll be really very easy. We don't have to go through like slides and talk a long time on slides and stuff, like going, here's this, you guys got these and did this, and doing a first touch could be very short, not
Okay.
not take that long.
okay, sounds like we have a plan for that. Thank you all very much. I'll adjust from what we talked about today and send that email to the co-chairs probably this evening. As far as what would we like the advisory component of this committee to look like moving forward? Since we've been approved to act like that, should we be by request or sorry, phone's all going off. If we have our weekly touch base, we could talk about things that we've noticed or read or opportunities to send a note or comment. Any thoughts on how we would structure advisoriness moving forward?
That's a good question.
I think,
Or we can just kind of stand by for now and see what comes up. We don't have to formalize it or anything. I just know that Terry, you've had some observations, it sounds like. So maybe when we do observe things, we can take them to this group meeting on Mondays and then send it back to the committee, the commission.
Right.
Okay. That sounds like a good general approach. We don't have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and definitely don't want to be, like an enforcer, we
Yeah.
just go, hey, we just noticed like how you worded that slide was maybe a little bit, and maybe you should change the wording, would be a better, or a better way of wording this, or a better way of, yeah.
Yeah, kind of less formal, but okay.
Yeah.
But still maintaining a proactive diligence is good. Like there's one thing
Yeah.
too, like just basic things like in the clarity committee we met yesterday, and changing the he or she's to theys
Yes.
was one piece too, and like little things like that can come up too. So
Yes.
we
Yeah.
can check in on.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, is those kind
Yeah.
of things. Yeah.
It'll probably be more critical when after,
into the crunchy.
when we get to more of like the actual like language and yeah, slide before the town halls, those kind of things.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And I think last thing, we could touch back on that letter we received from Leslie Harrington Smith here. We could talk a little bit about that, Chuck. So there's some things that you noticed in there.
yeah, he mentioned an appointed citizen advisory board, which I take as the commissioner council.
Yeah, same option.
Yeah, so to me, that's not an internal equity, diversity, and inclusion group within county employees.
Correct.
So this, to me, her language is appointed citizen advisory board to provide direction to the county council on DEI matters, which I think is an excellent way to summarize what the
That
commission
is
is
exactly
all
our
about.
first goal under advisory council or
The
commission.
other thing noted though is she seemed to go more than just talking about kind of an internal staff group that meets every so often at noon.
Yeah, she doesn't talk about EDIG at all in the letter. It's just a recommendation for what we do with the charter.
Yeah, and
So-
and frankly, I'd like to see this elevated more than just, if one of their functions is to ensure that those practices are maintained and observed within county hiring practices and within county internal policies, great, put it in. But I'd also like to see, and maybe we don't need to do it specifically now, but as far as their function, is to advise the county council on policies, language, contracting, et cetera, that they do, that involve county services, and that includes law enforcement.
Excellent points. Yeah, and they should. And I think the reason we're not paying anybody to do that right now, and we're not paying anybody to organize volunteers from the county staff to do that. And the people who are doing that don't have any actual power except for begging to please change this thing, which frequently falls on deaf ears. Or what I've witnessed happen is leaders will be like, "Oh yes, we love equity. We have an equity, diversity, inclusion group," but they don't ask them anything. They don't take advice from them. They don't include them on anything. So part of this creation of an actual thing that is chartered in actually gives a bit of oomph and actual effectiveness to caring about equity. So you're totally right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see this, frankly, the other thing that I've seen go nowhere were all those listening sessions on systemic racism last year. What happened? And so I see this as an outgrowth of that,
Yep.
at least a
Yeah.
proposal to move that forward.
Absolutely. I mean, there's precedents. We have a there was a declaration by county
Yeah.
leadership that was, but no action moving
There's
forward.
no action. We have
Yeah.
a crisis, declared crisis, and there's nothing even. It's like, okay, cool.
I went to a
Exactly.
training and that's
All right,
enough.
crisis.
And that's the
Okay,
problem.
Yeah,
move
but
on to.
nothing's been done with that.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of captures the spirit, I think, of why there's such demand for something like this in the community that a lot of us observed as candidates and continue to hear about
Yeah.
in our roles.
So this isn't what I was proposing was not meant to be an overreach. It was meant to be, let's address this and carry it forward with something
Yeah.
substantive that's in the charter so that it can't be ignored.
I think some of the wording kind of caused understanding to be of a different tone, and I think that really it's all of the same. We've been talking about the same thing in different ways. Is what my perception is on this side. So that's
Oh, yeah. I
helpful
mean,
to hear.
it wasn't meant as a like against it. It was just like how to set have the right tone, as Chris said. And I just didn't think that as presented it was the right tone to have when creating this.
Yeah, I understand it. And again, I did not use the term intervene. I used monitor and advise, and coordinate to me would be a stronger word than advise
I
or
like
monitor.
I like being a resource.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think even the word monitor would scare
go-to
away a lot of
resource
people
being
on
Monitor
all sides of political spectrums.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Monitor from the government,
We're gonna watch
I
you.
know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if people know, like, that the county has a really good resource for this kind of thing, that would be a really awesome thing to be known for.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I like having a centralized resource, but we don't have that now.
Nope.
Yes.
The goats. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great. So I think we have something we can bring to the commission. I'll pull that together and share that back out. Any other thoughts, saved items?
No.
Thank you, Kim, for sending that email out.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I would do that now since I didn't see that till now. I have such a hard time with this office.com thing. So, feel free to call me like, hey, Kim, just sent you an email, blah, blah, blah. Can you address this? Because sometimes I don't even see emails because I hate this system.
Yeah.
I've missed
I don't
it.
even use it on my phone because I don't want to create records on my phone
Yeah.
for commission stuff. So it's back like year 2000 when we have to be at home to check emails.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Me too.
Oh my God. I have it on my phone. When I talked to her about putting it on my phone, she's going, no, it would just be the office would be the only thing that they would monitor on your phone. Or
Yeah. If you download the app.
Yeah, if you download the app, which I did, and so I mean everything else is safe on my phone, and private. Yeah.
Well, even
but also
I
Yeah.
use my phone
Yeah.
for this Outlook. But all the emails to and from that Outlook account, which I do monitor on my phone, go into the county's database, so it's already
I have
archived.
them already. Yeah.
And any Facebook or text that are relevant to what I'm doing, conducting business, I forward to Bonnie at the county to make sure it's in the public record. But I've been through this too many times before, back in the good old days of 2014. And so I've kind of learned how to protect private records from public ones, make sure the public ones are made a matter of public record. So
Yeah.
I'm not as concerned about using my iPhone to monitor this account, the county account.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about making sure everything's just existing on the cloud and in the internet, so I don't have to lose my phone to someone's frivolous lawsuit.
But even sending emails from your phone using your county email address will still show up in your sent items, which means they're archived.
Yeah. For all reasonable approaches, yeah, it's fine. Cool. Well, I think we're good for the meeting then.
All right.
Let's adjourn at 12:50 p.m.
Thank
Fair
you.
enough.
Okay.
Thank
Hey,
you all for
I
being
wanna
here.
I
Yep.
actually